Welcome to Enjoy the Ride. I'm Michelle MacDonald, attorney and restorative justice specialist and trainer. You're here for Enjoy the Ride. It's a movie series. There are 6 seasons, 46 episodes. It's a course, but a fun one. And tonight we have a bonus episode because one of our own, and I'm going to take this really slow, one of our own, Lamont Fondern, was on divorce court. Now, I've known Lamont since 2012, and why he never told us he was on divorce court. Maybe when you're watching, you'll find out. But it was, yes, he sent it to Tom. And I'm going to skip through the commercials, but I want all of you to watch it. It's an actual episode of divorce court. And I have some questions, very important questions that you want to write down and kind of answer for me when we do the Q&A at the end. And the first question is, what was the issue for the judge in this divorce court episode? What was the issue for the judge? The second is, what was relevant to the issue for the judge, right? What was relevant to the issue that the judge was going to be handling on this divorce court? And then the third is, what did the judge send to mediation? Because the judge actually sent things to mediation. Sent issues to mediation. So those are the 3 questions you're going to watch it and watch for. And then I have questions for Lamont, like, how did you get on the show? What ended up happening? Did did mediation work out? Those kinds of things. And he said even though it looked like the show was Chicago, he said that it actually was filmed right here in Minnesota.
No, it wasn't filmed in Minnesota, but I was living in Minnesota during the time. So the film was actually, they flew us out to LA. It was filmed in LA.
Oh, wow. And I had, anyway, I'm going to share the screen. Tom's going to make sure that I'm sharing my screen. And I'm going to stop it at commercials, so you'll see me kind of jumping in and stopping it. Because if I don't, just enjoy the commercial. But this is Lamont's show. So let's see. Am I sharing my screen? Do you see like a divorce court? Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. All right. All right. Sit back and enjoy the ride. This special episode of our program, featuring Lamont Fondern.
All rise! In today's session of Divorce Court, Renee Myers is divorcing Lamont Fondern after 4.5 years of marriage because she's not in love with him anymore. Now, in Judge Lynn Toler's courtroom, Lamont is asking the court to award him one of the properties his wife currently owns.
Your Honor, I'm not a bad boy anymore. And I think I've lost that edge.
Were you a bad boy at one point?
Yes, Your Honor. I was a drug dealer.
That qualifies.
And Lamont says that when his drug dealing days ended, Renee turned cold and told him to go sleep with other women.
She told me, she said, you know what? You go out and sleep with whoever you want to. I'm not sleeping with you anymore. I said, give it to me in writing.
Joe, I have got to see this. I'm authorizing my husband to have a girlfriend of his choice to take care of his sexual needs that he has as a man until further notice. That is deep.
She's the judge who gives rules on the law and life. She's intense with common sense. She's Judge Lynn Toler, where real couples deal with real life. Divorce Court. We now join Lamont Fondern and Renee Myers as Judge Lynn hears their case.
Mr. Fondern, you have brought your wife, Renee Myers, here today, and you are requesting that she sign over one of 8 properties that she or you both own, I'm not quite sure which yet, because you want to stay there and live. Mrs. Myers, you say you're not going to do it. Your property, you're going to keep it. Maybe if you sell later, you'll split it up. Before I get there, though, Mrs. Myers, I'm going to start with you. Why don't you tell me a little bit about your marriage and how we got to divorce court?
We've been together for 8 years. We've been married for 4. I have been through a lot with my husband. I'm not in love with him anymore. He's got an ex-wife that has continuously from day one been in our relationship, and I'm just fed up. I can't do it anymore.
Just fed up. Okay. Mr. Fondern, what is your basic understanding of what the problem is here?
Your Honor, my understanding is that I'm not a bad boy anymore. And I think I've lost that edge.
Were you a bad boy at one point?
Yes, Your Honor. I was a drug dealer.
Okay.
And
that qualifies.
And, you know, she fell in love with a drug dealer. And now that I decided to turn my life around and be something different, she's a fool. I don't understand what she wants.
Let me ask you something, because this is fascinating to me. You turned your life around. Most drug dealers, and you can co-sign on this one, end up in jail or dead. You had enough sense to turn it around. Can you enlighten me? How did you manage that?
Well, absolutely. I went to prison. I did 36 months in prison.
And that was enough?
And that was enough. I realized that, you know what, it's not worth it. And so I decided to come home, be exclusive with my wife, try to work a job. But apparently, since I don't make a whole bunch of money, it's not good enough.
Okay. And were you married when you went to prison, or had you not gotten married yet?
We married about a week before I went to prison.
You had a wife before Ms. Myers, right?
Absolutely.
Tell me about that.
My ex-wife and I had been together for several years. We divorced in 2000, right around the same time I met Renee. And it's been a problem for
Say goodbye to old costly cable TV once and for all. This revolutionary invention gives you access to your favorite.
You know, I changed, and, you know, this ex-wife thing, it's nonsense. You know, yes, my ex-wife did create some situations in our marriage. I understand that.
Well, can you tell me about a couple of those situations so at least I have some clue what we're dealing with here?
What changed everything with her, we were at a graduation that my ex-wife's son, which I consider my son because I raised him, I married her with 4 kids, plus mine. And so she has this thing about, you know.
She being Mrs. Myers.
Miss Myers, you know what? Those are not your kids. Only one is yours, you know. And so we went to the graduation because at one point in time, she had a very good relationship with the kids. But when Vicky, my ex-wife, came after her at the graduation and just kind of expressed to her that, hey, you know what? You know, we've been sleeping together, yada, yada, yada. You know what?
You and your ex-wife have been sleeping together?
Absolutely.
And at your son's graduation, your ex-wife took that moment to go over to your current wife and tell her that you had been sleeping with her. Have I got that?
Absolutely.
I wasn't his wife at the time, Your Honor.
I will get you, Ms. Myers. I do want to hear that event. But Mr. Fondern, go ahead and continue with your story.
My wife and I wasn't really sleeping with each other a lot at that time. And so kind of the deal that I had with my ex was that, hey, you know what? She say, when I need you to knock on my door and be there, you need to be there. One particular night I couldn't be there. And so when we showed up at the graduation and she was there, that was it. She had enough and she blew up and she went after her and she came after me. And so it was just a whole bunch of mess. And at that point she said, you know what? I don't want anything to do with her anymore.
Ms. Myers, why don't you give me your understanding of the situation with his ex-wife?
I mean, his ex-wife just never got over the fact that he left her for me. Yes, I did have a good relationship with her kids. After that particular event at the graduation, I just said, you know what, I'm not going to let a grown woman try and fight me and then expect me to come in and take care of her kids and have her kids in my household. So at that point, I just said, I don't want anything else to do with her kids. I don't want anything else to do with her. And that's how I left it.
Was it the ex-wife or was it the absence of the thug life that caused you to love your husband no more?
I mean, it was a combination of things. And I think the final straw for me was his son, his biological son, called me right around Christmas time crying and saying that Vicky had put him out on the street for something that he had done. And I said, well,
how old was he?
He was probably 8 at the time.
8?
Yes. And so I said, well, I can't come get you right now. You can call his sister and his sister went and got him. And then when he called me from prison, and I mentioned this small fact that, you know, your ex-wife just put your son out of your house, the first thing out of his mouth was, well, what did he do? What did his son do? Not, I can't believe this woman just put my child outside. It's middle of winter, and he's 8 years old. And at that point, I just realized, you know what, he's never gonna let that woman go. That was like the final straw for me. I'm like, you know what, I'm done. I've put up with enough of this.
Because your thought was anything she does is okay with him. He's going to take her side over everybody else. Mr. Fondern, can you respond to that? Because I can see her position with respect to that.
Nonsense, Your Honor. I mean, if you know Vicky, she loved kids. She never would have put him out. Maybe my son was emotional at that time and had probably grabbed a couple of things and said, I'm leaving. But really put him out? No.
You just didn't believe it.
I didn't believe it.
When divorce court continues, did Renee sign on the dotted line and give her husband written permission to sleep with other women?
For about 3-4 months, she kept telling me, you know what? I'm not sleeping with you anymore. Go get it wherever you can. You know, I said, give it to me in writing.
You did.
Sensitivity was just
Website at divorcecourt.com and myspace.com/divorcecourttv. Divorce Court returns with the case of Lamont Fondern, who has petitioned the court to allow him to acquire one of the properties Renee owns. And Renee says the final straw was when Lamont didn't stand up for his son when his ex-wife put the 8-year-old out on the street.
Now, Mr. Fondern, when did it go bad?
I would have to beg my wife to sleep with me, you know. And she was like, you know, no, 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 no. I don't want to. I don't feel like it. No, no, no. You know, don't touch me.
Right.
Go get in the shower.
Right.
I never felt like she even was attracted to me because I would initiate. She would never initiate. And she would be like, do it, get it over with, okay? Just get it over with.
I never knew any women, man with that problem, but okay.
I never knew any women that, you know.
Despite the fact that she was being a little stingy with it, you were still faithful to her?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. Here's when I knew that something was wrong. Me knowing my wife, she's very private. She's very protective as far as me being with other women.
Right.
When she told me, she said, you know what? You go out and sleep with whoever you want to. I'm not sleeping with you anymore. And I looked at her and I'm like, has this woman lost her mind? This is not the person that I know. This person does not, you know.
She didn't say that to you, did she?
I did.
For about 3-4 months, she kept telling me, you know what? I'm not sleeping with you anymore. Go get it wherever you can. You know, if that's going to make you happy, I'm not giving it to you no more. You know? And so, for me to
tell me he made that up.
No, he's right.
For me to find out that if this was really, you know, how she felt, I said, give it to me in writing.
She didn't.
I did.
I got it right here, somewhere in here.
Joe, I have got to see this. You mean to tell me you gave your husband written permission to go catting around at the present time in my life with decided to have an understanding with my husband when it came to having sex with another woman? This decision is based on the stress from my job and other woman problems I am having today. Oh, I don't know. I am authorizing my husband, Lamont Fondern, to have a girlfriend of his choice to take care of his sexual needs that he has as a man until further notice. That is deep. That is very, very deep.
When divorce court continues, Judge Lynn rules in the case of Lamont Fondern versus Renee Myers. But first, Judge Lynn gives a life lesson to Renee.
Sisters complaining all the time, can't get a good man, can't get a man to do right, can't this, can't other, they ain't nothing, they ain't got a job, yeah. Here you got a brother who has a clue, and you talking about, I like the street life and I like thugs. Making us all look bad. Okay, everybody, here it is. Do you think it's okay for a woman to support a man?
Call toll-free 1-800-282-1991, and your voice may be heard on an upcoming show.
As a kid, if I needed
No, I don't think it's a good idea for wives to be older. I have been the older wife, and it did not work out well. They did not have the life experiences that you have. It just didn't work. They didn't appreciate what I had worked so hard for.
Divorce Court returns with the case of Renee Myers, who gave her husband a signed contract, allowing him to sleep with other women. And Lamont feels he is entitled to receive one of the properties Renee owns.
Tell me about the properties and then tell me which one you want and why you think you should get it.
Well, the reason why I'm asking for this particular unit because I can afford this unit. You know, I told her, I said, hey, listen, you can have all the rest of the other stuff. I don't care. It's yours. You worked hard. You earned it. But don't leave me in a situation where I'm going to be without nothing.
Your Honor, my position is that he can rent the property, he can live in it and still pay rent. It's a business. My name is still going to be on that mortgage. I'm still the one that's going to have to make that payment. Whether he gets it or not, it's still in my name. He can't afford that property, and I'm not going to ruin my credit for him.
Did he assist you in any way in acquiring? I understand you had 4 properties when you got married, correct?
Correct.
Did he assist you in any way in obtaining those other 4 properties that you obtained during the marriage?
I did 100% financing.
You did everything. Did he help you? Did he?
No,
was
my
he
name is
working
on everything.
them? Was he doing
helped
anything?
do the work and the upkeep on them. But I've done them for the the whole time he was gone. I had to do all of this on my own.
Do you think he should get anything out of those properties, given that he put something into it, even if it was labor? Because labor costs money.
When we sell the properties, whatever the proceeds are, we agreed that we could split them. Right now, we're upside down in all of those properties, so I'm the one that's supposed to take the hit on all of that, so he can walk away scot-free with one of them? I don't think so.
The problem I have here is this. I got 8 properties. I don't know how much they're worth. I don't know how much debt you have on them. I don't know what condition they're in. I don't know who's got title. I don't know what the mortgage. I don't know if you're upside down. I'm going to have you go to a divorce mediator, and she will help you get started with the forensic accounting about who owes what and is entitled to what. I can't do that here. I mean, you actually need an accountant, okay? Ms. Myers, I will say this to you. Don't be a fool all your life. Sisters complaining all the time, can't get a good man, can't get a man to do right, can't this, can't other, they ain't nothing, they ain't got a job, yeah. Here you got a brother who has a clue, and you talking about, I like the street life and I like thugs. Making us all look bad. Mr. Fondern, I'm gonna say, thank you. Thank you on behalf of society, on behalf of sisters, on behalf of brothers, on behalf of everybody. You have done that which I spent years on the bench, pushing and shoving and pulling to get 1 or 2 guys to do. You did it on your own. You did it on your well. Congratulations, Godspeed. There's a sister out there for you somewhere, but I am not in a position to do anything for you now. This case is dismissed. It is so ordered. Good luck to you, sir.
All rise. Parties may leave the courtroom.
I work just as hard as you do. And for you to tell me that you don't love me no more because of whatever reason it is, it's nonsense.
Well, that I may be, but, it's time for me to move on and, find that thug man that I like.
If that's what you want, then go ahead.
Fair.
Okay, everyone.
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Right.
I mean,
think the judge got it right.
for
I
sure.
think all the so my first question was, what was the issue that the judge was supposed to be deciding?
Property.
Right. And what was the relevant issue?
The forensic accounting.
The property, the forensic accounting was relevant. He owned, it looked like 8 properties. Lamont wanted one of them.
The amount of
And-
work that Lamont put into the property.
And what issue did the judge send to mediation?
The forensic accounting, the property.
Property, right? So what I was documenting is all the irrelevant factors that the judge was taking into consideration, and it shows you how a judgment can be different. Like, she could have had a judgment against Lamont, right? Because he used to be a drug dealer, he went to jail, see what I'm saying? And kind of been for the woman who maybe she wouldn't have known she liked the thug life. But instead, all of this was taken into consideration, all this, I'll call it irrelevant stuff, because remember, the relevant stuff was just the property, and all of the irrelevant stuff was taken into consideration. She was very interested in that piece. So what were some of the irrelevant things that she took into consideration?
Well, I guess the character of the wife compared to the character of the husband.
It was like a fault, right? She was at fault for not wanting him anymore for the reason she said it. She wasn't arguing it. She said, "Yep, I want a thug."
Didn't sound like she wanted to be a wife either. I think she wanted the money that a thug would bring in, not a husband.
Right.
You know, in the actual sense of intimacy. Didn't sound like she was interested in that at all, unless she had someone on the side.
There was another, Sue, you bring up irrelevant, whether they slept together or not. That whole contract wasn't relevant to the issue of the property, because that's what the court was able to decide. So, and the permission. Something else that caught my attention was the 8-year-old and the story that Lamont's wife had about the 8-year-old being put out into the streets. And some judge might pick up on that, call child protection, and it was not really relevant to this issue. But if a judge maybe heard that in court, the judge might be reporting to child protection, something like that, even though it wasn't Lamont's. I don't think it was Lamont's child, but so that to me seemed like something that was not relevant, but the judge could have in a real court situation taken that statement and done something with it.
Maybe this isn't even a relevant question, but because it was a TV show, which, you know, needs audience in order to get advertisers, and so it has to be sensational. I mean, in a real divorce court, would a judge have made an issue out of something that's irrelevant? Whereas in this is what draws people, the gossipy, the whole gossipy part of it. So she was really milking the gossip for the audience rather than attending to the issue. For the audience, the issue wasn't important, the gossip was.
Right. Judge Judy, I think her name was Judge Lynn.
You know what, though? I think that she also, though, had worked within the African American community for a long time, possibly, and looking for the fact that Lamont pulled himself up and got himself changed and was working so hard. And she almost wanted to take credit for that, was what she had always been trying to find in one of her people.
Yeah, it seems like she wanted to make that a platform. I think it was a good platform too.
Yeah, I think so too. And I also think we're dealing with real family. These are how real families operate. They're not and I've done thousands before hundreds of judges. Real families operate very differently than what's presented to the court. So I've seen this. I'm like, oh yeah, this is something that I understand. That you can't. Court always seems to be fitting the round peg into the square hole, and there's I'm going to open it up to questions for Lamont for the rest of our time, because I have questions like of Lamont, and I haven't asked him any questions about this. He sent it to Tom because last week's episode, remember, Tom was kind of acting, and Lamont said, "What a great actor," but something like that. We'll take a look at my acting. And all the years I've known Lamont, I never know. He might have mentioned it to me over the years once, but I was very, very impressed with the episode, actually. I thought these are real people. The judge seemed to get it right, because I know Lamont. He seemed to get it right. And, you know, if you're getting to the heart of what was said or done, it all favors Lamont, right? That whole, I think she got it right by favoring Lamont, at least his character. Okay, and Paul, I'll send you what we just watched, so you can watch it. Yeah, and you'll be able to watch the you'll be able to watch it on I'll send you the Zoom too. So we had it on Zoom. So any questions for Lamont?
Well, I mean, I wondered, did you get paid for that, Lamont? I mean, what motivated you to, how did you get to divorce court? Did you submit your case, or can you tell a little background about that?
Sure. I mean, in reality, I was really just playing around online. I never thought that they would call. I never thought that this would be something that she would even agree to do. And what the real scenario was is that we were going back and forth, discussing future divorce and who was going to pay for it. And so the reality is that I wouldn't say that they paid us for it, but I definitely got my filing fees covered to file after the show. So look at it from that standpoint. You know, she didn't want to, I didn't have the money to pay for the divorce. And she was like, I'm not paying for it. You know what I'm saying? I've done all this, I've done enough. So really, that's really how we end up getting together, just finalizing everything on our own. The show didn't really take care of the divorce side. We got together. I wasn't fighting with her over anything anymore. And so I just say, let's just do it. You're not in love anymore. Let's just get it done. Let me move on.
Did you get the property?
No. So weird enough, because we were all upside down. We were upside down on all properties. This was 2009. So this was during that recession time.
Right.
In order for us to even file bankruptcy, we had to let go all the properties. So we just let them go. She didn't get it and I didn't get it. So they all went to the courts.
So they all got foreclosed on. She stopped paying because they were upside down, and then you didn't want an upside down property ultimately.
Well, here's what the challenge is. Again, it was during that recession time, and really what I think stressed her out in this whole real estate side of it is that her parents had recently divorced about 2 years before that or so. I don't remember how many years ago it was. So we had mom living in one property, dad living in the other property, and neither one was paying.
Oh.
And so not only that, then just to reflect on the other properties where people were not paying on time. And so it became stressful. I understood it was stressful for her, but also stressful for me. And at that time I was really barely making ends meet, trying to come off the streets and work a real job. And so it became even more stressful for her because it was barely much I could do. But at the end of the day, had we not put our parents in that, had we had tenants that was willing to pay, I think we would have been fine.
So that's real life too. I see people fighting for properties that are
Mhm.
upside down and spending money with lawyers and on courts with properties that are upside down. So those are I thought that the judge got it right in terms of, I don't have the information to address the property issue, and sent it to mediation. Did you ever mediate, Lamont?
So they asked a few questions, and I don't think that I heard or we heard anything else back. And I think probably by the time we, after a little while, we just decided that we were just going to go downtown Minneapolis and file the paperwork ourselves. And we agreed on what we wanted to do. We had the little clinic down there, and again, at that point, I was just ready to move on. So it wasn't nothing for me to fight over it. I don't even think even at that point we knew that we was gonna have to give the properties back to the bank anyway. But right after that is when we discovered it was like, well, the credit's shot now because we just didn't have the money to pay for the people that wasn't paying, and so she couldn't do nothing but give the properties back in order to file bankruptcy to clear up everything.
Do you think going to divorce court impacted the way you proceeded? Just the way the judge addressed things kind of impacted you, even though you didn't go to mediation, she didn't decide? Just the fact of going there, was there an impact?
I think the impact for me was that I was disappointed that I wasted all that time and that energy to go through that process. Or we both wasted that time and energy, and there was nothing to be done. I didn't understand that at that point that a judge would have to refer it out to a mediation or to an accountant or something. I thought that that she would be able to make that decision or say, hey, Lamont, you're not getting one, or you're getting two, or none at all. And so I that was what impacted me, because it was like, okay, I got to go back and face reality that I might not be able to stay here.
And so you, as far as the foreclosures on the property, it didn't affect you, except you were going to be evicted basically once the property she stopped paying the property, went into foreclosure.
Yes.
Sometimes can take a long time.
It didn't affect me. I had other, before I went to prison, I had maxed out my credit cards on some of the stuff we was doing to try to keep the upkeep on the properties, just to help her out. And I was on title on several other properties that we jointly did together. But I wasn't on the loan, so it didn't affect me loan wise. I'm trying to reflect back. So yeah, we had original property. Yeah, that was, so Michelle's originally from Foley. I think some of you guys are familiar with Foley. It's right outside of St. Cloud. And that's I met her when I was doing mortgages. I had just started doing mortgages when we met. And then we started to buy properties from that point together.
So yeah, it wasn't clear that you owned any of the properties. I think they portrayed it as, these were her properties in title.
Yeah.
So just, this never came out in court because it was probably best that it didn't come out in court. But there were really, realistically, the way we did it, the way she was able to buy those properties, because her income was based, it wasn't like she was making 200 a year or nothing like that. She might have been making 55, 60. And so, you know, back then you could do some of the what do they call that type of lending? I can't think of the name of it. But basically what I did, I took all the cash and I paid all the expenses. And she was able to just deposit all her payroll checks into the bank. And it made it look like she had a lot of money in the bank that wasn't being touched because I was paying all the bills cash.
So it was as a loan officer, you were helping her just take snapshots that made her look good.
Well, right, yeah. Just again, she didn't have to spend no money out of payroll. So all it made it did, it just every pay period that money stayed there. So every time we would go to the bank, it may look like she had $60,000 in savings sitting there. But realistically, yes, she did. But that's because I was paying all the expenses for everything on the cash side.
Mm-hmm. Right. So if that had been addressed by a court,
right,
they probably wouldn't have seen your contributions.
Yeah, well, it would have been, well, that could have been an issue because that's money laundering in so many ways, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Somewhat, right?
Yeah.
And so she ended up letting the properties go. You agreed that she would just do that.
Yes.
Let the properties go. And then the banks would take the properties and resell them and try to salvage some funds.
Right, because of the Minnesota law, one to buy, two to sell. So because I was on title, so she couldn't sell some of them by without me anyhow.
Oh, Paul, can you? Oh, he just did. Okay. So you filed bankruptcy. So you're in another court. Is that what you said? You
I did.
filed
We both filed bankruptcy. Yes, we both filed bankruptcy. You know, we had to. Or more so, she had to, but we had to because she had to give the properties back because she couldn't care for them, and we couldn't file bankruptcy until we gave all the properties back. We had to put them in the BK.
Okay, so there was another court involved. See?
Yes.
See how?
Yes, there was another court involved.
In that court, at least, I have done bankruptcy as well. I used to do one bankruptcy a month, and I'd see his name was Prescott down there. I'd have my one client paying very close attention to the one client. I do chapter 7s, and then he'd have his 20 clients, his bankruptcy class, so to speak. And so I learned that I tell people, what do you have to lose? Because literally with a bankruptcy, you do get a clean slate going forward. Did you find that was true, Lamont?
I did. I mean, there were times that the creditors did try to come back and ask for money, and so I would just refer them back to the bankruptcy attorney. It was a clean slate. I mean, it was probably I would say at about 19 months into my bankruptcy, I had already found a lender that was willing to start the process with me again to buy it. That's when I bought the house over North Minneapolis, when I was living over North Minneapolis. So by the time I got to my second year, we had finalized the deal and just closed on the house. But yes, it gave me an opportunity to clean up everything and buy on my own. So I bought on my own, started buying on my own from that point.
Seemed also too that you were friendly with her in a lot of ways, like it was an amicable situation, at least following this divorce court episode.
It did. We started to just have a better conversation after the fact. I mean, I would say she's remarried, and of course her current husband, he's not a fan of me, which that's fine. I understand that. I have no ill will with him. But you know, like when she lost her mom, I hosted the repast at my house. And this is well after our divorce, because that's just who I am. You know, they didn't know where they was going to host it at. They didn't know what they wanted to do. And so I cooked everything and set up everything, you know, for the family to come by and have a repast. You know, at one point, one of her sisters was a little not favorable towards me, but the remaining, the rest of their brothers and sisters and family, they're all, neither one of them has an issue with me, even to this day. You know, I was supposed to be in Minnesota at one of her sisters' wedding this past weekend. I just couldn't make it. So they still always invite me out to do family stuff with them.
The extended family.
Yes.
That's what, you know, I see a lot that, and actually this is in my book. We don't have, we always think of the nuclear family, but it's really a molecular family. Right? Because the nuclear family explodes and it's an explosion, right? If we think of family as more molecular, we can kind of appreciate holistically what goes on in family. So, and that actually, it's the last chapter of my book, The World's Last Custody Trial, where I talk about that, but I got it actually from my brother, Charles, who's a professor. So anyway, well, I don't want to close early because it needs to at least be an hour for credit. If we want to apply for credit for this class, and I think we all might want to. So does anybody have any other questions for Lamont?
How long was the actual recording of that? I know they had to edit it down to 20 minutes. How long were you actually in court?
It wasn't long. I want to say maybe an hour. You know, but I mean that was 2009, so I can't even remember for about.
Right.
But it wasn't long. It was about an hour, I think.
Okay.
Did the judge talk to you other than when she was on the bench? I'm just wondering, were there ex parte, we call them ex parte communications, when the judge talks to you separately, maybe Renee separately? Did any of that happen, or did you just go in cold?
I think they did, because they wanted to make sure that we were aware that this was going to be televised and just kind of stuff like that. It wasn't like that she was trying to get a, you know, because they had already did the interview, like they had the other people to do the interviews and tell the story to her so she can be kind of updated on some of the information. But it was very small talk, you know, just like, hey, you know, this is what's going to happen. Are you guys okay? You're comfortable? You know, is this going to happen? And so when they flew us out, of course, they put us in separate hotels. I was somewhere on one side of town. She was somewhere on the other side of town. And that was pretty much it.
Sounded like there was an audience there. Did they talk with you, or
no?
Did they interact? No.
No.
And they flew you out, but all they did was pay your filing fee, you said? That's all?
Yeah, that's it. It's not what people think. I don't even want to consider that they was paying our family for filing fees, but that's what we used the money for. I think they gave her $500 and they gave me $500, and we put it together and filed in Minneapolis.
Right, because the filing fees have, well, I can give you the history of filing fee. They used to be at one point non-existent, and then they started increasing them incrementally. But they're about over $400 right now for family filing fees. So yeah, so they gave you a stipend, plus did they give you hotel accommodations when they flew you out?
Yep, they gave me a hotel accommodation. It was only for one night. And so what I negotiated with them, because I got, you know, my family lives in California. They agreed to just fly me back when I was ready to go back, instead of me flying back the next day like they flew her back. And so they agreed to book it out a few extra days. I got a chance to stay in California for extra days, spend some time with my family.
And then there was, I watched it. This is like the second, maybe third time I watched it, but I picked up that in your, family, the way you see family, that your first wife, was it your first wife, had 5 kids and one of them was yours, the 8-year-old. So, right?
So Vicky and I have one biological kid, but my son was living with us. So my son that was from a different relationship, he moved with us when we were 2. And so Vicky had been raising him, we had been raising them together because he came with us when he was 2.
I see. Okay.
So did you wind up in mediation or not?
No, like I said, they called, but to my recollection, I don't think we didn't sit down together and do no mediation. We did not.
Okay.
So would you say that the divorce court contributed anything to your ultimate resolution?
Yeah, the only thing to contribute is that the little stipend that was paid for the paperwork. That was,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
yeah, no resolution in regards of we resolved everything ourselves. I did end up moving into, but I think I was already staying there when it happened. I moved into one of the properties because it was, in fact, I was sharing the unit with one of my tenants for a little while. And then she moved out, and then a little shortly after she moved out, then I think we just kind of, at that point, it was time to give the properties back to the bank. But again, she had to even give our primary home back to the bank as well. So she didn't get to keep that one either.
That was the duplex that you were living in?
I was living in a duplex, but during the time when we were married, when I came home, we were living in a townhouse out in Bloomington. But I moved into the duplex after me and her realized that we wasn't going to be a couple anymore.
Yeah. Just for a little history, it used to be fault divorce. And we used to not even have, we've always had family law, but we didn't have family court until it started in California, when they started to create statutes to create family court in the 70s, I believe. And so it was fault at first, and then it became no fault. California started no fault down the road as well. So it seemed as if this judge was, again, fault is more juicy than let's divide property. Did you get that impression that she was finding fault in Renee?
Yeah, of course. I mean, anybody that watched the show, and trust me, because it was YouTube, there's probably 1 million people that were either for me or for Renee, because everybody look at what it was for both sides of the fence. But yeah, she fought Renee. I mean, she had her own biases against Renee. By the way, her real name is Michelle. Renee was her stage name. She decided to go with stage name. But yeah, I mean, she had her own biases. She was upset with Michelle.
Okay, I was wondering why you were calling her Michelle. I thought maybe you were married to me. No, I'm only kidding.
I can't do what Tom do.
Right. So what we can do the last few minutes is, again, we start circle with a be still moment. We kind of glossed over that a little bit. And then there's the listening exercise. Then there's the peacemaking dialogue. Today, the dialogue was just the show that we listened to. And then there's agreed actions. And then we close with a be still moment. And so let's do that the last few minutes. I'll start. What's coming up for me is Lamont. I am so proud of you. That was 2009, and you had said that in jail you did restorative justice, restorative circles, and they put their arms around you, and then for a year out of jail they put their arms around you, and restorative justice works, and you're a prime example of that. So this just enhances my caring and love for you, and knowledge of how family orientated and restorative you are. Thank you.
Yeah, also what's coming up for me, great appreciation for what you've gone through, Lamont. Your honesty and your truthfulness and your self-searching, soul-searching journey. I'm impressed. I admire it very much. I'm grateful to you for that.
Thank you.
What's coming up for me is that you did turn it around. I spent time in jail myself, and a lot of the girls were repeat drug offenders, and I guess I disagree with if they're in there because they did drugs themselves. To me, courts shouldn't be involved in that, and it should be getting them well. But they always said they just go back to that because they weren't able to do anything else. So that is impressive.
Thank you, Dee Dee. Janice?
What's coming up for me is Lamont, go guy. That's pretty cool. You know, it's not always easy to turn things around, and, you know, but God always has a path for us. And it looks like he's got a huge path for you to move forward on and to share what your journey's been. So thank you for sharing it with us.
And Paul, I know you arrived late. Anything to share from what you did here?
Not understanding why anybody would want to put their personal lives out in front of the whole public on TV. Don't understand that.
Good point. You know what? And divorces are public. So now you have, they're public. They're public. Some of them are on TV.
Huh.
Yeah.
Some of them are on TV?
Yep. They let
But
cameras in the courtroom sometimes. So a lot of people don't understand that, but thank you, Paul. You're right. He did, and you'll watch it. I'll send it to you again so you can catch up, or I can actually, I'll send you everyone the episode if they want to watch it again, but it's going to be on this Zoom link. Thank you, Paul. Good point. Okay. Good point. These are private matters. So, I mean, divorce, generally, family court, it's a private matter. And a lot of people don't know that it's public record. And last but not least, we'll close with Lamont.
Well, first and foremost, let me just say thanks to everyone for your kind words. You know, I know that I've made a lot of poor choices, but I'm doing what I can to try to correct what I have done harm to myself and others in the past. You know, what I got this show again always give me the opportunity to reflect and understand some of the things that I've done to hurt, you know, her and what she's done to hurt me. Because it went public, that also allowed me to really connect with some people I've never connected, would have never connected with in life, because there are a lot of people who did contact me. People went on social media and they found my email, and I really had a chance to really connect with some of them. A lot of people I didn't. Some people always ask me, "Are you gonna ever do an update episode? Are you gonna tell us what she's doing and what you're doing now?" And sometimes I think about that, but in most cases I'd be like, "No, I'm not doing that." But a lot of people want to know really what happened. What happened after the fact. Lamont, are you okay? Did you end up back in jail? Is she with a thug or this, that, and the other? So, but that was one of the upsides of the show, is that I got a chance to meet a bunch of new people. And this happens sometimes, not all the time. Let's say I fly to Texas and someone would just keep looking at me. They'd be like, "Were you on divorce court?" And so that happens, because people do remember, what I'm saying? They be like, "You that guy, I know your face was somewhere." When I started working here in Illinois, that happened. So some good things come out of it. Sometimes bad things come out of it that I don't really want, because it ain't everybody's business what I've been through, but I'm not afraid to share what I've been through, because it may be able to enlighten somebody else's life.
Yeah, thank you. And maybe this is the follow-up episode, right? You gave us some updates. We know you haven't been in jail. We know you've continued to just be a beautiful person, the beautiful person that you are. So, and I think you said Renee's or Michelle is remarried. So, yes. All right, everyone. We'll see you next time on Enjoy the Ride. Take care.
Thanks,
so much.
Michelle.
Thanks, everyone.